Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Toolbox, a show about the skills we need to build healthy relationships with others. This is a time of year, Marsha, when I think all of us kind of dread that, oh, what should I get this person for whatever holiday we celebrate? And it can be a source of stress for us with it. So, and I think all of us have experienced the time when we've given something to someone and you see the expression on their face that, oh, thank you, I really like this. And you know they're just being polite. Oh. And, or else it may go in the box next year for recycling for Christmas gifts. So it is, it can be daunting to try to find the right gift for someone. But today we've got some ideas about that, and maybe you could share the beginning of that.
Did you want to talk about your story?
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. I did have a story to show you how sometimes we can mismatch the gift to the person. I had just been employed in Vermont and was a new employee of about 3 months, and we had the typical Yankee swap at Christmas time. And being young and single, I thought it'd be very funny to make a humorous gift. So I put together this gift that I thought would be quite humorous, probably for someone my age. Well, the person who ended up getting my gift on that Yankee swap was a very old and prim and proper woman. And when she got my gift, she promptly closed it off and pushed it away. And I knew, uh-oh, I really missed it there. And everybody around was saying, what did you get? What did you get? And she would not show it. Oh. So that just was an example of, boy, when you mismatch something or miscalculate it, it can really be awkward.
Yeah, that was a dramatic example of a misalignment.
Yes.
And hopefully we're not experiencing that. But especially these days when our time is limited and our resources are limited and we've got, things are expensive, we want to really do the right thing. And we're going to be talking about the work of Gary Chapman and Paul White, who coined the idea of love languages. And it's interesting to think about tokens of affection and love or appreciation falling into categories, because we might think about gifts as being like jewelry or clothing or gift certificates or restaurants or things, but they really can also fall into categories of the way that we prefer to receive appreciation or love. And so we're going to talk about those categories, right?
Well, there were 5 categories that Chapman and White came across that I think we can put into our show today to kind of illustrate some points about how we might be more sensitive in our giving and in our receiving of gifts. They identified 5 different love languages, they called them, or languages of appreciation. And they are acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, and tangible gifts. And the other thing that they pointed out was not only do we need to be in touch with the person who's receiving this gift from us, what their preferred modality is, but oftentimes their modality is different from ours. So if I like words of affirmation and everything, they might like quality time. And if I just think, well, I'll do it from my language of love, I can miss the boat.
Like you did at the Yankee swap.
Like I did at the Yankee swap.
You have to kind of get out of yourself. Although when you're shopping for somebody, you think, oh, that's great. And sometimes it's more about, I would like to receive that gift than the other person.
I missed the boat too, even with my wife, until I even learned about these, that I couldn't understand why sometimes I would try to express appreciation or love for her, and it didn't seem to have the impact I wanted. But then when I learned about these love languages, I learned that hers was really acts of service. And when I shifted to that, things changed.
She felt like pure gratitude.
Yes.
So before we get any further into this topic, let us clarify, and I think we have a slide for these just to talk about. So if we're looking up at the left hand, words of affirmation, that would mean specific, supportive descriptions of why you appreciate somebody or talking about their strengths. And this could be spoken words or it could be written words. Quality time, spending meaningful time together. And especially these days with so many distractions, that means being fully present with somebody when you're with them. You could be going somewhere or experiencing something or doing something together, but the fully present piece is really important. Acts of service, like we were saying, doing helpful things, taking burdens off of somebody, doing chores that you wouldn't normally do, things to make their life easier. Certainly tangible gifts, as a token or representation of your appreciation or love for somebody, are still good ideas. And there are some people who are very appreciative and they feel like you've really gone out of your way for that. But you kind of have to know them well in order to know what it is they're looking for.
That's the secret, isn't it? That the gift is something that they really know, that you know they appreciate.
Either you've listened or over time, or you know them well.
Right.
And it can also be something that they have when you're not around to remind you of their connection. And then touch, pleasant, positive contact, and certainly appropriate to the workplace or to the relationship that you're talking about. With a romantic partner, it could be more intimate, but with children or coworkers or neighbors or friends, it will be less intimate and more casual. But still, if you think about touch, we need it certainly as children, in order to thrive. You think about infants, they need to have touch just to kind of make everything grow and be in harmony, their nervous system and everything. And we don't grow out of that. We just have to be really aware and careful about how to do it. So
and sometimes society is less accepting of some of these modalities, so that tends to curtail it, even though we might long for that type of expression.
Right. And post-COVID, if we can claim that we're post-COVID, we certainly have different conventions about our comfort level with physical proximity with people. Even those that we may have run up and hugged before, people have established new boundaries about that. But I remember when I was living alone and my son went away to school, and it was just me and the dog, and I didn't have that touch, even casual touch. And occasionally people at work would just reach out to my arm to get my attention, and it was kind of lovely for me. I mean, it may not be for other people to have that connection with people, and it was grounding to me. So it is a way of connecting and showing appreciation.
So I guess our readers could probably ask the question, well, how do I know? I hear these descriptions of love languages, but how do I know which one is mine, or which maybe it may be more than just one?
And it frequently is. We have kind of a ranking, the one that we really gravitate to and yearn for. And then sometimes gifts can be combinations as well of different love languages and categories.
So in terms of, let's say, the acts of service, one of the ways is kind of paying attention to what we talk about in past shows about paying attention to our feelings. So that you just mentioned that you noticed how your need for touch came when you actually felt somebody touching your arm, that it registered with you in terms of your feelings.
It was very soothing to have that
so
human
that's
connection.
One of the things that we would encourage our viewers today to do is to think about each one of these, and then kind of think of a time when someone did an act of service, say, for you, and how did you feel about that, and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So if we take each of these 5 and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe 1 or 2 will pop out as our preferred method, and that will give us a clue then of what we're looking for. So of acts of service, how do we feel when a partner does something perhaps unexpectedly for us that eases a load for us, and how would we rate that? And quality time, the same thing. When someone really gives us their undivided attention. And that is different. It's not something where when the phone rings, oh, sorry, I got to go get that, or they're looking at their cell phone while they're talking with you and going,
You feel like they're not really with you.
Yeah. Or the baby cries and they've got to run off to change a diaper, leaving you mid-sentence with what you were trying to express. To have the impact of quality time, it really means to be uninterrupted. My focus of attention is on you.
I'm committed to you right
and
now.
I'm listening to you. I'm not talking to you so much as listening to you and hearing how you feel about different things.
Yeah. So in terms of words of affirmation, it's like, how do you feel when somebody encourages you or speaks positive, affirming words and compliments? Compliments are great. And sometimes it can be certainly powerful when it's private, but sometimes people appreciate being recognized publicly as well. You know, in the midst of a gathering or a conversation, you could say, oh, I was so pleased the other day when so-and-so did this for me. Or tangible gifts, we are not by any means discounting those things that stand in the place of this love or appreciation that you can't really make material, but you try to. And again, physical touch. How do you feel when your partner touches you? We should also say that there are surveys online, I believe, that are associated with this work. If you look up 5 Love Languages or Gary Chapman, you can find surveys that you could take or you could ask your partner to take.
And just a word of caution with these things, that this has to be genuine, the expression of it. If it is false or it's just done out of a sense of duty, it not only will not provide that sense of fulfillment that you were looking for, it can actually work in reverse.
Yeah.
So, for example, with gift giving, if everybody receives the same thing, that does not have a very personalized effect on you. So everybody got it. Maybe it was nice to get this, but it isn't really personal. Or even awards and so forth, when everybody gets one, or every year a different person gets it, but we make sure everyone gets it, it doesn't have the impact that we would like.
I would also add that any kind of gift or act, if it's trying to make up for harm that's been done, that hasn't been repaired, is going to land poorly as well. This is not instead of or in the place of an apology or kind of repairing anything that is wrong between you and your employees, or you and your boss, or you and your neighbor, or you and your partner or kids. That work is separate. And in fact, if you're trying to patch something up with a gift without doing that important work, it will be diminished.
Right. So it would have to be accompanied by an apology, or I really want you to know how much I wish I had done that differently, and here's something to recognize that. Yeah. So let's take a look at some possible ideas, Marsha, because I mean it could be infinite really in each category of the ideas, but let's give our viewers some suggestions as to what they might do in terms of a personal relationship. So with acts of service, what might be some things that one could do?
Wow. I think that like giving maybe house cleaning gift to new parents or something, that would be great. Or you offer to do a task that you don't normally do, or to repair something that's really important to somebody.
Especially if both parents, say, are working and coming home tired. If, say, the husband says, let me take care of the children while you take a few moments for yourself. That can be a wonderful gift for it. So, you know, a sign it at this time of year, I would like to give this to you once a month, that at your discretion, I will provide this act of service.
Time or dinner, or
preparing meals, or even for a child, helping a child with a project that they're doing can be very sense of support. I mean, even my grown-up children now remember times when we worked together on projects.
Right, right. And it's even better if it has involved planning ahead. You know, not just, it's always lovely if it's spontaneous, but if you've thought about it ahead and spent some time and effort planning it, it's even better.
Quality time we've talked about, and I think it's fairly evident that that is a rare occurrence, especially nowadays. People are just so busy with things and so many demands on our lives, and with different digital things, different electronic devices, it takes even more of our time away. So I know, for example, if my wife and I are watching TV and she suddenly turns the TV off and says, let's just talk about this or this plan for something, it's really meaningful, because it's saying, I care enough to connect with you to turn this program off.
This is, I think, my preferred. With the people that I'm really close to, quality time is the most important to me. And my son now lives out of town. And just the distance is making it hard. I really appreciate when he carves out time to spend time with me. And I'd rather have that. I love a token that a gift that I can remember that he gave to me and that was our connection. But I would always choose time over the thing. You have the memories that as a reminder, but just like fully being there. And we have a tradition that he spends one weekend or 1 3-day period of time during the year sometime, and we pick and we craft and we go on a trip together, and it is like the highlight of my year. So he's taking time off from work and he's spending it with me. It's lovely.
So those memories after the event has taken place can generate the feelings all over again.
All over again, and they are kind of not a tangible gift, but they are the remainder of what we did together.
Words of affirmation. We used to play this game years ago where people would fasten a paper plate on a string and have it on their back. And then we'd go around the circle and people would write different words of affirmation about that person. Wow. And it was really interesting to see that for some people, years later, they still had that plate.
Oh, wow, wow, yeah.
It can be very meaningful, and it's a gift that can last a long time, especially with a child who's heard something that really affirmed something for them.
I know that I've kept notes from students that I love to come across every now and then.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Tangible gifts, again, we're not diminishing those at all. A care package. It could be things that you've made even, or a collection of small gifts that really show that I want to care for you through this, or I want to appreciate you, or I want you to remember me when we're not together. I want you to celebrate yourself, and here's something for you. They represent your feelings, because how do we show love otherwise? We have all this good inclination that we want to give to people. So a gift is certainly fine.
Again, when it means we've taken the time to remember what this person likes, or to note what they like, that makes it even more meaningful.
Because you've invested in that person, not only in the money or resources that you use to get it, but in thinking about it and refining it and calibrating it to that person.
So in physical touch, I mean, again, with a partner or with a child, sometimes just taking their hand at a moment that you're experiencing something together can be an intimate feeling of joy, of caring. An unexpected kiss or hug can be the same.
A high five, a tickle vest, if they're little, or a tuck-in at night.
Yeah, or massaging someone's back or neck, or just lying on the couch with a person. Just that contact just has a lot of meaning, especially for someone with that is their love language. And we should note too that as people have these love languages that really have an impact on them, they can be hurt the most when the hurt comes in that form of their love language. So for someone who has touch as their love language, to not have any of that touch, to be kept from that, can be very harmful to them, or with words of affirmation and so forth. So we have to be careful that when we get angry or critical of someone, that we're not using their love language modality to create that criticism, because that really does the damage then.
I remember that when I was growing up, I loved to have my hair brushed, and so that was a nice feeling, and enjoyed it when somebody would do that for me. And when I got older, I'd love to have my feet touched, and either with a machine or with somebody doing that for me, because they can be really hard. So what about folks that are not in our family or in our intimate circle? We can use these things for them too.
Absolutely, yes. And they have to be, as you say, put it within the context of the situation. Especially in today's world, we have to be very careful sometimes that our message that we're trying to convey is not misconstrued with it. But in terms of acts of service, for example, if you notice a colleague at work really struggling with something, an unusual task that they were given to do, and just saying, I have a few minutes at noon today before lunch, if you need any help, I would be glad to assist you, can be a wonderful gift. You have to make sure, if you're doing this at the place of work, that you're not enabling somebody by perhaps they're not living up to the responsibilities that they should be doing.
Right.
So if you continue to help them out, that could be enabling it, and that's really a matter for their supervisor and that employee to work out. But we're talking about that momentary thing where you just notice, wow, maybe it's a bad day for someone, and you're saying, let me help you with that.
Let me help you, yeah. Because this is easy for me, and I see that it's hard for you.
It's interesting that in some of the research that they did, the most asked for help in an office setting is can you help me with my computer?
Well, and that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's not tech savvy, but there are so many nuances and little things that everybody has a piece of. So you could show somebody the part and then somebody else could show you the part that they know. So, but that and operating systems change, and just when you get used to one thing, you get a new version of it. So. We don't mean to imply that people are not tech savvy out there if they need help.
And it's important, sort of a word of caution here, that when you are offering help, be careful not to say, this is the way you should do it. Because that no longer then is really assisting someone to help themselves. It is telling them, basically, they're not doing it the right way. And therefore, you're going to come in and do it the right way and show them. That would have a totally different message. So we have to do it their way when we're offering help.
Yeah.
What about quality time, Marsha?
Oh my gosh, there's so many ways. Just like having lunch, like deciding, hey, let's have lunch, or bringing something, if you eat at work, something that you've made at home to share with the other person at lunch, or to carve out time, maybe after work. If somebody comes to you to have a conversation, you could say, I'm going to be focused on you. It's really hard sometimes in the workplace because you think, I've got work, this is interrupting. Yeah. But you can really kind of feel that chemistry with somebody if you just say, this is important to me. I'm going to give this person my full attention.
I actually had that happen to me, and before I even knew about these languages, when my boss came to me one day and just said, how about once a week we have lunch together in your office, just so I can catch up on what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a wonderful thing, and we enjoyed it thoroughly. I always felt highly of him because of that and the discussions, the conversations we had during that time. It
makes you feel important enough for them to give of your time, because time is one of those commodities that is like more precious sometimes than anything else. And in an office setting, not having one eye on the computer or on your screen of some kind and one eye on the person and being divided, again, just like being focused and present and turning away from that and giving them time.
So when we turn to another modality in the impersonal, or not necessarily impersonal, but in a more casual setting, words of appreciation, there are two types that we need to be aware of. One is praise for an accomplishment, a task that somebody does well. And the other is sort of an affirmation of a character value or characteristic that they have. So praise might be in the form of, I admire the way you really set up a spreadsheet for us so quickly. It's so helpful. And affirmation of character would be, I love the way you greet our customers. You're so enthusiastic and caring. So it's amazing how words like this stick, and they really help the person not only to continue doing those things and feeling good about it, but appreciating that you appreciate that about themselves.
Right, and regardless of what you celebrate at this time of year, we do mostly adhere to this calendar, and it is kind of a culmination of a season and the year. And these things could be something you just wrote in a card as a thank you and as an observation. And they're also more enduring if they're written, and a person can look back and kind of revisit it a few times. I love getting a card from somebody with those words of observation, recognition, or praise, or a compliment, or a thank you.
And these can be repeated throughout the year, so it reinforces that it's not a one-time gift that occurs at a certain season. Now we're on the really touchy one, no pun intended, physical touch in the work setting, or even with friends sometimes. That they're in the workplace, this is definitely limited now.
You have to be careful, but it can still be
and
really
it's
meaningful.
rarely listed as a preferred language for people. Not all touches are interpreted the same. So that's another thing you really need to know. Is this person touch sensitive? Would they interpret it the way I'm intending it? So some ways that are fairly safe in the workplace, as you mentioned before, a high five, or a shaking of a hand, a pat on the back sometimes, or a brief hand on the shoulder of someone. It's important to keep in mind that whether or not this is appropriate is always determined by the receiver, not by you, trying to give that. And sometimes we experience when a friend of ours or someone at work is going through a crisis, and the inclination is to give them a hug. And at times, as you had indicated before, they really need that, and it can be taken in the right way. But again, ask before giving it, because you don't want it to be taken in the wrong way.
Yeah, it is a physical need, but we need to respect boundaries as well.
Yeah.
But you can give them a pat on the back, maybe just touch a shoulder, high five, fist bump.
Yeah, or
whatever.
just like you said, a touch on the arm.
I enjoyed that. But I was in a situation where I didn't have touch, except going to the doctor.
Yeah.
I didn't have day-to-day touch because I was living by myself. Well, we appreciate the time that you have spent with us today and perhaps during this year. And we are wishing you and the people that are important in your life the very best in the new year. And good luck with your holiday shopping and your gift list. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon on the Relationship Toolbox.